I think we can all agree that investing in crypto is actually quite complicated. On the one hand, as a novice, there's a vast amount of information out there you need to absorb in order to not be taken advantage of. On the other hand, as a somewhat experienced user, you're constantly dealing with an influx of information that you need to decipher in order to maintain a portfolio that has relevancy and can beat the market. All this while trying to trade between the volatility, buy the lows, and sell the highs. What if I told you there was a project out there that wanted to take care of this for you? Your own private hedge fund at the click of a button. A project that beat the market year over year and allowed you to sit back and collect a check. What do you think something like that would be worth? All right guys, welcome back to another episode of Finance Opinion, where I'm on a mission to find the craziest moonshots that the cryptoverse has to offer. And in this episode, I want to introduce to you SWDAO, a project that's looking to bring actively managed portfolios to the crypto space. Now you might be asking yourself, why do we need actively managed portfolios? Isn't the opposite of the thesis behind decentralized finance? My keys, my money, my problem? Yes and no. I think there's a large place for this in the future for most retail investors, because a lot of people really don't want to deal with the same level of nonsense we go through on a daily basis with crypto. I mentioned in my intro, yes, it can be very complicated to invest in crypto, but it can also just be complicated to invest, period. This doesn't mean that it should be completely closed off for anyone who wants to get involved with this sort of process. SWDAO looks to offer a very wide range of services, catering to almost any risk profile and catering to any investment strategy that you might think of. If you can think of a way to make money in crypto, they are either offering an investment strategy or want to create one in the future. Now, this is something I'm very bullish on because, again, I go back to it can be quite complicated to realize all the different ways and potentially figuring out your risk profile and find out how you can make money out the other side. And if there is a person out there who potentially knows how to do this, spends all day doing this, went to school doing this, and can pull out the money out the other side for me while I sit back and just collect a check, this is a fantastic thought. This is actually something that a lot of the 1% of the world really leverage on now when it comes to hedge funds. The thing with hedge funds is, though, they have a threshold. You have to be X wealthy to even get in the door, let alone get your money involved. You're not talking to anyone about getting those top gains up there. You have to be rich. And this is one of those things that I'm very bullish on about decentralized finance in general. And I think more projects like this are going to show up. So I'm very bullish at the first sign of a project like this. I just wanted to jump in here real quick because I started rambling so fast that I forgot to mention that this isn't financial advice. None of this here you should take to the bank. It's just an opinion. So chill out about it. Take it for what it is, maybe learn something, and don't forget, leave a comment. All right, let's get back to the video. Now, we do have to cover the other side of it, which has some bearish aspects. And the first one I want to talk to the point about is going to be regulations. I think there's going to be a lot of regulations related to this space in the near future. We have seen talks about regulations coming down the pipeline, and I think whether it comes to retail or institutional investors, those regulations are going to have a big play on what they do in the crypto space. Now, SWDAO is looking to offer to both retail and institutional investors, and I think that this will mean that it's going to have a big weight when it comes into the crypto space, bringing in a lot of those institutional investors if they can find that regulatory seat that allows them to stay where they actually are. The other portion of this that I think we need to talk about is trust. Now, if you're not aware of when this video is being made, it is on the heels of Terra Luna crash. The macroeconomics of the entire crypto space, or the entire world right now, is pretty bearish. So we see a lot of trust pulled out of the markets and investing in general, let alone from the crypto asset class. Trust is going to be a hard and big hurdle for this project to get over time. It's going to have to learn to come up with new ways to entice people and make themselves appear as though they are a trustworthy protocol out there for people to give them their money. It's a very big thing in the crypto space to give over your keys to somebody else. And I think something that I mentioned is going to be very big for this protocol to actually figure out. Other than that, the other things I actually quite like about this project is they seem pretty straightforward. They have a lot of documentation, they have a lot of investment guides, they have a very open Discord with people who are generally willing to answer your questions. That said, I do have a couple questions that are unanswered at the time of making this video, which are related to the team and the doxed level or the information behind the team, because it goes back to finding out that trust. So in order to make a better decision on this project and whether or not it sits on our watch list, I think we should head over to the screens and take a look at the landing page and see what they actually have to offer. So let's head over. All right, before I head on over to the screens, I wanted to preface that this is going to be a bit more of a broad stroke introduction to the project than an in-depth fundamentals look, because I think there's a key milestone that we need to wait for, and that is the introduction of their front-end dApp from the project. Now, it seems as though it might have already gone through some sort of alpha phase and it's currently coming out in a beta. They're taking some notes from the community, which I absolutely love to see, and they're going to be implementing it. But I really do think that this is going to be key for this to be given a thorough review, or actually see if it has what it takes to be enticing to retail investors, because that is going to be the ease of use that it needs to get invested in this. Because you'll see in a second here that there's so much information and so many different options that I could imagine this being very daunting for the average investor, right? Now, it depends on your level of investment capability. Now, there may be a line that you go much further up and this will be gravy to, and I think it is. If you're in the crypto space at this point, there's a good chance that this really isn't that daunting to you. But in order for it to be more to the level that I would like it to be, where it's very easy of use for retail investors or someone with a lot of the dApps we've seen some really good user interfaces that have made it very accessible for the average person to get involved with, and probably been one of the reasons they have seen success. So this is where I wanted to preface this. So without further ado, let's actually head on over and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, starting on their landing page, the first sentence we're introduced to quantitative crypto asset investing is kind of what I'm alluding to, with this being a lot of information and probably beyond the reach of a lot of normal retail investors, because that's a fancy term for they're going to be using leverage and actually looking for strategies that are like loopholes and ways to outperform the market, which at the same time, it's down here below, fully automated investment fund at the touch of a button. Something else I want to note is that they're actually talking many times throughout the articles about introducing AI into the entire investment thesis and leveraging all the team's experience, and the fact that there is a team out there looking to put all these strategies together and actually hopefully beat the market. So this is what you come to expect with an investment portfolio that's managed. You want to see a team of people, you want to see different strategies, and you want them to be straightforward with kind of how they're going about that approach. At the end of the day, there will still be some proprietaryism about what it is exactly they're doing, but as long as there's actual results and we get straightforward information that comes out that says this is how it is actually performing, that's what's going to be needed. The next thing, and you can see the coming soon, that's going to be, I think, the button for the dApp, which is coming out in the future here. But as you can see, the strategies, the first portion of the projects that they offer, indices, I think that's going to be one of the ones that will be a little bit heavily looked at by regulation. But all of these strategies here are options to kind of get invested in, and I believe they've even alluded to more of these. I remember looking at some of the documentation, there was so many to choose from that were coming soon, as you can see, but there are a few that they actively have right now. And really, if you want to dig more into this, I found that their GitHub is actually the place to go to if you really want to get into it. So this is filled with an absolute wealth of information. They're pretty straightforward, again, with all of it being put out there. Their tokenomics are here available for you. And as you can see, they're going to have a very large treasury DAO, which is really, I think, where all the money is going to be used for the investment strategies. And the reason that 24% is still allocated for the team is obviously so that they can kind of control it and make sure that that's what we're going to put our work into, especially at the very beginning. So this is going to definitely be very driven by the team at the beginning, which is not a problem, because I think that comes back to, hey, we're trusting you with the money, and then you're going to be doing very good with it. So something I wanted to also mention here was that, again, this is a really good place to dive into what the portfolios are. They have a few different ways of actually looking at how you can get involved with them, some of the metrics, what they would mean for you, and then even I have a risk guide, which allows you to kind of pick based on risk. One of the things that I think I'm hoping the dApp brings to it is that there would be some sort of a workflow that would allow this to, like, for each person to pick the way at which they want to approach investing. Because I think a lot of people will be like, oh, I want to pick based on least risk. But they don't want to have to get this deep into the documentation to get to the point where they're like guided by their risk. So I know that was a bit of a tangent, but that's really something, again, talking about what I think they're working on. They're trying to make it more approachable by people. But safe to say they have a lot of information in here, and again, they do seem pretty open about it. They do put more of their information. They have guides on their website, which I do appreciate, and they have mentioned inside their Discord and their Medium articles that they are looking forward to put more of this information out there, and there are going to be many more articles because they acknowledge that it is quite complicated what they're trying to accomplish. And really, at this point, I would point to buying into it if you want to buy into it. So if at this point you're really interested in it, this isn't going to be anything more complicated than if you're in the crypto space than you're traditionally used to. You have to connect your wallet, you have to buy a token, you have to go exchange it. All that is going to be pretty standard for most of us in the crypto space. However, for the more new retail investor who may want to just be like, hey, where's some opportunities to put some money, and to get some of those kind of customers, I think they're going to need that dApp. They're going to need it to be easier. They're going to need some like interface that's going to guide them through instead of taking us off through to another chain, and actually I think a lot of people pointed to inside the Discord that 1inch is the best place to actually purchase this right now, but getting your MetaMask and all that connection. Again, this points to what I said at the beginning of this video. Crypto can be complicated to invest in, and the fact that there's this many steps, I'm gonna point to two things. The fact that there's that many steps makes it complicated for a lot of people. The fact that there's that many steps that they show you how to do is also very bullish because they're willing to go through it. They want you to get in here, which I really, really can appreciate. So with this, I really do want to head over to the chart so we can kind of see how it's performed during this crazy, like what we've been seeing in the markets right now. And as you can see, relative to a lot of other assets, it's doing okay. And I think some people were even pointing to that in the Discord as well, is that, wow, this isn't really doing that bad. And I think that it should be interesting to see what happens come out the other side, to see how their portfolios and their products actually fared. And that's kind of one of those things that I'm waiting for when I prefaced earlier on, is I want to see this over time to see if results maintain themselves, because they might have been making good results in a bull run. How are they going to perform in a bear run? That's when the real stress test happens. But this sort of price action at this point kind of shows me two things. It's either people who are holding on to it, who are outside the ecosystem, are kind of, they're bullish on this product and they think it's going to do very well, or the entire community is so tight-knit and they're all kind of the people involved and they also really think that it's a very good product and aren't dripping it out and selling it like crazy. Something I do want to kind of point to is that the max supply number, the total only being 1 million from the tokenomics, and even though there's less here on CoinMarketCap, I'm not sure what the reason is. There's 1 million total supply. Those numbers, and I've said this before, people quite often get confused how market cap works and they don't understand, like 1 billion of one token at X dollars is the same as one at 1 million with even more value, right? So like market cap, it can confuse people and they think, oh, here's that moonshot that's gonna go off just because there's more possibility of a bunch of those going out there. So I'm long story short too, this has got a bit of a liquidity potential that I think people won't trade it because they don't think that I can buy 10,000 of those tokens and they're gonna go up and make me a millionaire tomorrow. But that's good because then it also kind of keeps some of the riffraff out, if you know what I'm saying. $3.23, putting the market cap currently at about $1 million, fully diluted market cap at about $3 million. This is very low. This is very low for a product that could be offering this service. Now, just to point to this, now I'm gonna give you full face just to point to this, hedge funds that do this successfully and outperform the markets. And we're talking about margins that are nowhere near what you can make in the crypto space. Margins in a traditional hedge fund may be 20% more than, or well, 100% more than you might get on your own just doing a long hold on the S&P 500. You know, they might be looking at 40, 50% gains. And I know obviously there's many math out there that they probably can do much better than that. But I think a lot of people would expect that a 40, 50% gain on traditional assets from a hedge fund would be a really, really good hedge fund, like a really good investment structure. Those people who manage those hedge funds can make billions of dollars just as their percentage for managing it. And these management fees usually range around 2%. And they get it regardless of performance. So a company that's making annually billions of dollars in its small percentage, I think has the potential to absolutely be massive and large in the world, because really when we think about who controls the vast majority of the largest amounts of money in the world outside of governments, it's really hedge funds and stockbrokers and all the people playing with the money on massive scales. I mean, some of these people are playing with trillions of dollars, yes, with a T. So this is a product that is in the same vein and just in the crypto space. But going back to regulations, this is gonna be a big one for them. They're really gonna have a little bit of a hard time, because once you start to get to a scale that is of size, regulations are gonna come in. People are gonna start to notice it, and nobody wants to see that happen, but it's gonna be something inevitable. So I think that they've got a few hurdles when it comes to those aspects. But in the meantime, for the rest of us, whether or not this is a good pickup in the near future, like I said, I wanna kind of wait and see what happens with their development of their DApp and how their play comes out the other side of maybe a few more months of bear run to see if their performance does well. They do release quarterly reports, which is fantastic. Again, the transparency really seems to be there, and I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna put this on my watch list. I'm not even gonna give a price prediction on it right now because I don't think this is the time to warrant it. We're in a bear run. This was an introduction to a product that I think you should be looking at. Now, I do a lot of GameFi, I do a lot of metaverse. These financial products out there are things that a lot of people should be paying attention to, because again, those institutions that make the biggest money in the planet, like outside of governments and maybe like oil, energy, is hedge funds, is investment strategy companies. Like, those are the biggest. They just make dumb money, and they make dumb money for people, and they make dumb money for themselves. So this is something I think we should definitely be paying attention to. But all of this was just an opinion, and I think this is the perfect time to let you know that this is the time to leave a comment down below letting me know what you think about this type of product out there, if you think there's gonna be a place, if you think regulation's gonna crush it, if I got what I talked about right, if I got what I talked about wrong. If you're already in SWD, let me know. What do you think about it? How do you feel about the community? Are you happy? You think this is a good long-term hold? What do you think about it? Leave those down in the comments. This is the perfect thing, because this is a two-way street, and this is how we learn in the crypto space. This is also the point where you know what to do if you found any value out of this or you appreciate the content. Like, subscribe. I do appreciate it. It does help the channel. Thank you so much. And remember, at the end of the day, this is not financial advice. It's just an opinion.